afternoon and good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to IREX Business Connect. It's great to have all our esteemed panelists from different countries along with our attendees together on this platform. Firstly, I hope all of you and your families are safe and well. COVID-19 has changed our lives in ways that most of us never imagined. Here is hoping we all come out of this stronger together. Looking at these challenging times, we at GMN Media have put together this platform as an opportunity to educate all our esteemed investors, investment bankers, lawyers, immigration and real estate consultants about attractive citizenship and residency programs on offer. Today we have 5 panelists, each representing a specific country and presenting the immigration program and opportunity the country has to offer. Each panelist will have 15 minutes for their presentation, followed by 10 minutes of Q&A. I would request all the other panelists to be on mute during the presentation of a fellow panelist. Further, I would request all our attendees to be on active speaker mode. During time of Q&A, all attendees are requested to click the raise your hand button on your screen and you will be allowed to ask your question. My co-host will unmute you so that you can ask your question to the panel. I would also request the attendees to refrain from asking questions on chat as you will be given a chance to speak by clicking the raise your hand button during Q&A. Since we only have 10 minutes for Q&As, in case you didn't get your chance to ask your question or your question remains unanswered, the panelists will be reaching out to you after the webinar. So, our first speaker of the day is Mariam Mansoori.
Do I close?
She is Business Development Director, India for Range Developments, Grenada. She will be presenting on citizenship by investment in Grenada, transformative real estate, global mobility with the ability to reside in the US.
When I need to close. Okay, bye.
So,
bye.
Mariam, over to you now. The podium is all yours.
Hi, good afternoon, early evening, everybody. Thank you for attending. And I wanted to thank everyone at IREX for arranging this wonderful webinar. I'm sure it's going to be as great as the seminars we've done together in India. I am Mariam Mansoori and I represent Range Developments. We as Range Developments are the only developers worldwide that have ever delivered 5-star hotels under the Citizenship by Investment scheme. So we're the only ones with a track record of delivery. We have already delivered 2 hotels in the Caribbean. One is the Park Hyatt St. Kitts, and another one is the Capri's Resort Kempinski in Commonwealth Dominica. Altogether, those 2 projects have had 1,600 investors, 2,300 jobs were created, and now we've moved on to our 3rd project in the Caribbean, which is in the island of Grenada, which is the Sixth Senses project. Now, we're just going to run you through our past a little bit so you can see what we've done. And so the Park Hyatt was opened in the year 2017 and the Kempinski Hotel was opened in 2019. Both of these hotels are award-winning hotels and they have all been nominated by many magazines and newspapers that are familiar to you, such as the Forbes, New York Times, and so on and so forth, to be award-winning tourist attractions in the Caribbean islands. We're very proud of all 3 of them. And now with the 3rd one, which is the island of Grenada, all similar to each other, we've moved on to a Sixth Senses Hotel, which is part of the Intercontinental Group. They were recently bought out by the Intercontinental Group. Just an overview, this hotel is ready. As you can see, that's the presidential suite and the views from the hotel. This hotel has already been sold out, as you can see, but the inventory for the shares for the hotel are available for resale. Once we get into the Grenada part and the laws of the Caribbean, I shall discuss resale in a little bit more detail. So as you can see, Condé Nast and Travel, these are all awards that the hotels were given in the Caribbean. Forbes and the hottest and so on and so forth. And that is the Kempinski Hotel that was delivered in the year 2019 in the Commonwealth of Dominica. This hotel as well is sold out, but shares are not available for resale as we speak, as they haven't filled their 5-year quota. And as I mentioned earlier, we will get into that a little further on when we discuss the resale factors. So now coming up to the 6 senses in Grenada. Grenada is one of the most sought out after islands in the Caribbean, simply because it has more advantages in terms of its citizenship as compared to the other Caribbean islands, which are travel documents that are also very valid in their own right. However, Grenada has more agreements with the international community, which makes it a more viable and sought after citizenship. So as you can see, when you are looking at citizenship programs, there's a couple of factors that come into play. Grenada allows you to have unmarried siblings, as well as your parents and grandparents, to be part of one application. When we talk about one application, we're talking about an investment of $220,000, which is a limited partner structure. This means that the hotel that's being built has around 575 shares. Each share is valued at $220,000. A question that comes up for a lot of the audience is, who determines the $220,000? Or am I paying extra in terms of premium because it's $220,000 in a 5-star hotel? The answer to that is no. The $220,000 is the minimum amount required for a investment in terms of getting citizenship. So whether it's a 5-star hotel or not, the investment would be $220,000. So we've done a little comparative chart here showing Grenada, St. Kitts, Dominica, and St. Lucia. I will forward this to everybody after the webinar, just for your information. However, you can see that given that they're more or less all in the same price range, visa-free to Russia is only available to Grenada and St. Kitts and Dominica. St. Lucia and Antigua don't have one. Visa-free to China is only Grenada. Visa on arrival to the UAE is only Grenada. E2 treaty with the United States, which is right now the most important reason as to why Indian nationals are pursuing the Grenadian citizenship, is only with Grenada. Adding your siblings, providing that they're not married. So when they say single siblings, they need never been married and do not have children of their own, to all be part of one application. If your parents are above the age of 55, yes. And if they're below, fees apply, but yes, they can be included. You can also add your own grandparents. So what we're trying to say is that the island of Grenada, when you do one investment, subject to paying different government fees, you can include your parents, grandparents, children, and siblings, all as part of one application and one investment. Can we move on to the next slide, please? Yes, there you go. The slide before is just a brief overview of the visa-free countries that Grenada offers you. It's around 130 countries, visa-free and visa on arrival. A lot of countries talk about like 130 countries visa-free. However, the question is, which countries are there and how important are these countries to a client's needs and requirements? It's Schengen, all of Schengen Europe, Hong Kong, Singapore, as well as the United Kingdom, Russia, and China. So the visa-free countries are not majority visa-free countries in, let's say, South America or in Africa. They're actually visa-free countries that make a lot of sense for a client, whether it's their tourism needs or their business needs. So another advantage to the island of Grenada is the University of St. George's, and this is mostly relevant to clients who want their children to be educated in the medical field. It was established in 1977. You've got many international students studying there. However, as Grenadian nationals, you would get priority in acceptance, and you would also get priority in the fees that you pay. In terms of their medical school, it's one of the best known medical schools in the world and one of the best known outside the United States. And it is the second largest source of doctors for the entire United States workforce. So 60% of the students in the St. George's University are American nationals, because when you graduate, you can practice your residency in the United States right after, which is obviously a huge advantage for being able to work in the medical field in the United States. We have seen many application processes coming through. Even right now, during this Corona lockdown that most countries are facing, the unit is still up and running. They've set up an online portal, and we get their documentations online. Previously, you would need to have them certified in your own country. However, exceptionally during this time, we've been allowed to certify them ourselves, and with our own legal team. So we see a lot of files coming through from India. A lot of this stuff is done online because most of the documentation needed is already available to the client and not very hard to get. And you can see it's approvals in 92 days. Next slides. The next couple of slides just show you samples. So 81 days, 78 days. So we're looking at anywhere between 3 to 3.5 months to be able to get approvals for our clientele. Now, moving on to the US part, which is the E2 visa, given that the EB5 has become a much longer wait and has become a lot more expensive for families, a lot of people have started to look into other ways and other options of getting into the United States. As mentioned earlier, Grenada is the only Caribbean country whose citizenship allows you to apply for an E2 US visa. There was a treaty between the United States and the government of Grenada in the early 80s that allowed Grenadian nationals to be eligible for an E2 visa. An E2 visa, in essence, is a non-immigrant investor visa into the United States. There is no rigid rules and laws. It only says that the investor, along with their family, can open up a business of their choice in a state of their choice, as long as it is a substantial amount of investment, which is around $150,000 and above. Now, in terms of ownership, the investor can own their entire business themselves. However, they can also buy into other businesses where they can be a 50% owner. So the requirement is very simple. You need to open, as a Grenadian, of course, you only need to show and want to open a business of your own and have a business plan, whether you own 50% of it or 100% of it, that's your choice. It can either be small businesses or you can buy into medium or large sized franchises into the United States. The E2 visa process can be obtained very, very quickly within 3 months. So if you combine that with the 3 months of your obtaining your Grenadian citizenship, you are set to move to the United States within the next 6 to 7 months. The visa is valid for 5 years with unlimited number of extensions. There are around 78 countries in the world that have an E2 visa available to them. However, not all of them are as flexible as the ones that, for example, Grenada may have. Grenada grants you a E2 visa, a non-investor visa for 5 years with unlimited number of renewals. So you can live for as long as you may please in the United States, as long as the business that your E2 visa on is up and running. Your spouse and dependent children under the age of 21 will also all be part of your one application, which is your E2 application, sorry. Your spouse can work anywhere in the United States. So main applicant may be husband or wife, depending if they want the other spouse to work in the United States. Free high school education for your children within the US, and in-state college tuition fees apply, which obviously are different college to college, but it is very, very flexible and handy. And in case the client, the main applicant, decides not to spend more than 122 days within the United States, they will also be exempted from paying worldwide global taxation. The question a lot of our clients ask us constantly is, can my E2 be turned into an EB5 over a period of time? The simple answer is yes. You need to grow that E2 business of yours in order for it to become large enough to qualify for a direct EB5. And then, yes, you can turn your E2 into an EB5 if you please. Here we've done a small comparison between the EB5 and the E2 visa. So EB5 is a permanent residency, as you're all very familiar with. E2 is a 5-year multiple. Although please bear in mind that as you will be a Grenadian national, you will have all the benefits of traveling the world visa-free on a much stronger passport that you possess. And you can live in the US for as long as you please. And that 5-year can also turn into an EB5. EB5 is available to all nationalities, whereas the E2 is not, and therefore it's a much easier visa to obtain because it's limited. The investment amounts is very, very different, between 900 to 1.8 million, whereas your E2 can be anywhere between 100, 150 and above. You do not need to create 10 full-time jobs for the E2. However, it is advisable that you hire 1 or 2 Americans in the business that you are planning on opening or buying into. You can delegate a lot of the management requirements. However, you have to be involved to a certain extent. 4 or 5 board meetings a year would suffice, but you can also be as involved as you please. Now, the E2 process is a consular embassy visa process, and it is not an immigration process. Again, making it a lot simpler. Process takes around 6 weeks, and there's no minimum length. We don't see any minimum length in the E2 visa laws. And your spouse can work anywhere they please, and your children are entitled to state tuition just like they are for the EB5. And the source of funds is a lot easier. Not to say it's a backdoor into the United States. Source of funds is still done. And however, it's a lot easier because you're buying a business of your own and you're not going through an immigration process that is with the USCIS. So next couple of slides are also samples of E2 visas that we have received. These are majority of our Chinese clients. However, we have blocked them out for their confidentiality purposes. Now, this is a small sample of the investment part that is relevant right now to the Grenada. Because in order to get your E2 visa, you have to be a Grenadian citizen. The cost of your investment, which is the share in the hotel, is $220,000. This is a sample done on a family of 4 with children under the age of 16, excluding their legal fees. So due diligence fees, the share registration, government fees, it comes out to around $299,000. Legal fees are not huge in the Caribbean. They range anywhere between $15,000 to $25,000 given the size of the family. Also bear in mind that if your children are single and under the age of 30, they can still be included in one application with their parents, and they won't need to have a separate application by themselves. For those of you who I'm sure are familiar with the Six Senses Hotel, as mentioned earlier, they have recently become a part of the Intercontinental Group, and they were voted one of the world's best hotels in terms of travel and leisure. And they were launched in 1995, and they have grown pretty well and fast since then. And their slogan is sustainability and environmentally very friendly in every country that they locally operate in. Those are just a few renderings of Six Senses hotels and what it's going to look like. The last but not least, as range developments in the other Caribbean islands that we mentioned earlier, that we have built and developed tourism and created around over 2,000 jobs. Social responsibility is extremely important to us. We believe in giving back to the communities that we work with, and whether it is sponsoring their cricket teams or helping them build their stadiums or having community centers for their family and children, it is our pride and joy to be able to take that up and have a social corporate presence in every island after we deliver the hotels. Thank you very much for taking out the time, and I look forward to hearing from everybody.
Okay. Well, that was a very good presentation. Thank you for that. Very quickly, we've got 10 minutes for Q&A. So we've got attendees already started raising hands. So Lavanya, can you go ahead and choose people one at a time so they can answer questions to Mariam? Thank you.
So the first question. Hi, Anil, please ask your question. It'll be good if you unmute yourself. Anil, please, please go ahead.
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I can see a question that's been typed out here, which I will address right now, which is hi by Muji Ahmed. What if in the process the sibling gets married? Unfortunately, if a sibling gets married, they will no longer be able to apply as part of one application. What we suggest in order for our clientele to save money is hold off on the sibling getting married. See, the process of you going from A to Z in the Grenada part is around 3 months. Once that sibling has received their citizenship as part of one application, they can get married afterwards. It costs them around an extra $1,500 to register their wife as a citizen as well, because the sibling has already become a citizen via investment beforehand.
Any more questions? Please go ahead and raise your hand. I think on the chat we already have somebody asking how long will the process take. So do you want to address that, Mariam?
The process takes around 3.5 months maximum from the day the client submits their file. In the process of getting their file towards submission, we work with them on a daily basis. We're there and our lawyers are there to help you prepare your documentation. We do calls with them. We reply to you via the lawyers on email, and we send you all the forms and that need to be filled out one by one.
Okay,
Miri, do you have a question? Manish, do you have a question? You've raised your hand.
Yeah, I think we have Vishal Wadwani as well, so you can unmute him next time.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi. My question is there any time frame where you can apply for an E2? For example, being an Indian passport holder, a person cannot have a dual citizenship. So once you surrender your Indian passport and get maybe a citizenship for Grenada, and does the US government say that since you have just newly got the passport, is there any time frame which is required by E2 to complete as a passport holder of the particular country, or it is immediate we can apply?
Thank you so much. That's a very good question, and we get that very often. See, the Indian government does not allow you, as you correctly said, to have dual citizenship. However, the Indian government allows you 3 months after you get another citizenship to surrender your citizenship. So you have time. And in case 3 months is not enough for you on the Indian side, I understand that it can be up to 9 months or a year, providing that you pay a fine of, I think it's 10 or 15,000 rupees. However, the E2 does not have any specific time frame as to when you have to or not have to apply. Once you become a Grenadian, you can apply for your E2, whether it's immediately or whether it's a year later. We do advise our clientele to travel under Grenadian passport, or maybe wait a couple of weeks or visit Grenada later on before applying for their E2. However, none of that is a prerequisite or a requirement. We have also had a lot of clients that have received their Grenadian citizenships, applied within a couple of weeks, and sorted it out. And the only reason for a couple of weeks is by the time, you identify the business you want to buy into, you finalize your business plan, and so on and so forth.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
After getting the visa, after getting the passport, you can immediately travel to the US. Does it require an e-visa or something to travel to the US?
You have to apply for an e-visa to travel to the United States. See, because the United States has a tax treaty with everybody, and because they do global taxation, even a UK passport holder needs to apply for a waiver in order to go to the United States. The visa-free travel countries on the Grenadian citizenship are, as mentioned, the United Kingdom, all of Schengen, Europe, Hong Kong, Singapore, Russia, and China. These don't require a visa at all. And there's a whole list of countries that are visa on arrival, such as the United Arab Emirates.
One last question, can I ask, please?
Sure.
When you travel to UK visa-free, as you said,
Yes. Yes.
what is how many days the person can stay there? And
You
he will
can
be as
stay
a tourist,
there
right?
As a tourist. You can stay in the United Kingdom 6 months a year consecutively as a Grenadian citizen.
Great, super. Thank you so much.
Okay, Mariam, very quickly, because we're short of time, there are a couple of relevant questions on the chat. One of which, which was asked about what is the cost of the medical program? Because I had a similar question, because I had a family friend who studied in the St. George University, and now they're going ahead and sending, their sibling. And what is the difference in fees? You said the fees is much lower for, residents. So what is the difference in fee? If you can just highlight on that.
Thank you for that. We get that very often, but it's extremely difficult for us to be able to answer that with numerics, simply because every program is different. Every part of the medical program is different. That is something that they need to contact St. George's University for directly.
Okay. Okay, great. And I think there's one more question that we have on investment and return, basically asked by Mr. Mayur. So if you can just quickly answer that.
Sure, I can't see it. Can you read it out to me?
Basically, he's asking in terms of what is the return on investment is what he's trying to ask.
All right. See, the return on the investments, as we've seen in our other two hotels, is estimated between 2 to 4% a year annually. Now, we understand that nobody really invests in the Caribbean in order to make 2 to 4%. The main reason for your investment is obtaining your citizenship. At the same time, it's not about throwing your money away. Your investment needs to at least have capital preservation. So it's not really about capital gains in terms of ROI, even though, 2 to 4% to some nationalities is great, and to some it's not so great. Once you hold onto your share for 5 years, you are able to resell your investment. So as mentioned in the presentation, with St. Kitts, 5 years has passed from the time our first investors came on board. Now that this 5 years has passed, they are able to resell it in the market. Now, whether they sell through friends or family or through any consultancy immigration company in the world, or they come back and they sell it via us for the developers. A share that they bought at $220,000, if someone wants to get, let me retract. $220,000 today, 5 years later, someone else wants to get Grenadian citizenship. There is no 5-star hotel available on the island, and the investment price is pegged by the government. So the government has fixed it at $220,000. They would want to buy it off you, who is owning a 5-star ready resort, and obtain their citizenship, and that's how you make your money back via resale.
Okay, great. So I think since there is just, I think Mayur has finished asking his question. Lavanya, can you go ahead and ask Mayur to finish his questions so that we can end it here.
Mayur, you can go ahead to asking your question if you have.
Mayur, I would request you to be brief because we are going ahead of time, so we would end it here. And everyone else who've got questions, do not worry. Mariam is going to connect with you guys via email and call after the webinar gets over. We'll have to move on to the next panelist. So very quickly, Mayur, go ahead.
You have to unmute yourself, Mayur.
Yeah, actually, I had a question regarding, but it was interrupted, so I couldn't ask. So my question is that, as he said, what is the withdrawal time after investment? Second, is if she's saying a 2 to 5%, a person will get. So what is the actual annual return if I'm investing for 5 years? Is a lock-in period, for example, if she said, then what will be the annual return a person will get? And second is that, if I'm moving to USA on E2 visa after 6 months or 9 months, so what will be the, can I withdraw the amount from the, can I withdraw the investment after 1 year or 2 years, but I need to be there, keep that for 5 years? Or can I transfer if I get anyone, so can I transfer that amount in between, before 5 years?
So your lock-in period as per the law is 5 years.
Okay.
So you have to hold on to your investment for 5 years. After 5 years, you can sell your investment, retain your citizenship and your family citizenship, which is passed on for as many generations as they may come. And the new buyer will also be able to get a citizenship. No one would buy it off you if it is less than 5 years. One, it's against the law. Second, someone would buy it off you in order to also get citizenship, and you need to hold it for 5 years for the next person to get citizenship.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Mariam. That was a great presentation. We move on. Mariam, I think there are a bunch of questions on the chat. You can reply to it on the chat, or you can connect with everyone via email after the webinar gets over.
Sure. Yeah? Thank you very much.
Yes. Moving on to our next presenter, we have Paulina Resina, partner at Beyond Residency and Citizenship from UK. She will be presenting on immigration to UK versus global citizenship and residency by investment programs. So Paulina, we've got Paulina and Tatiana with us. It's awesome. So we've got both of them presenting together. Great to have both of you guys here. So go ahead, the podium is all yours. Request all the other panelists to be on mute. And I would request all the attendees to please hold on, wait for the Q&A section, before we can ask your questions. Thank you. Moving on to you, Paulina.
First, we have to actually find the presentation and share the screen. Please confirm that you can actually see it.
Yeah, I'll let you know once we can see it. Go ahead, please.
Share computer sound. Yeah. Can you see the presentation now?
Not yet.
Share computer sound.
Share screen.
Share screen. Could you please check?
Yes. Yes. Now it's loading.
Can you see now?
I think it's loading. Yeah, we can see it now. Perfect. Please go ahead.
Okay, excellent. So we would like to speak about the UK. We believe that obviously there is a lot of connectivity between the Indian market and the UK. And I don't think that we have to introduce the country. Everybody knows where it is. It is located in the middle of this, in the very center of the world. It obviously has a lot of culture, a lot of history. Everybody is English speaking. So it's a very easy match for everyone in India. A lot of our Indian clients have family here, have relatives. It's not as far as the US or Canada. And if there is one take-home message from this presentation is that moving to the UK is actually much easier than people usually think it is. And it can absolutely be done with and it is actually the most cost-efficient option which is currently in the market compared to every single program which is out there, because we also work with a lot of the other residence and citizenship by investment programs. However, the UK, I believe, is the most competitive for those who are seriously considering moving for the education, for the health care benefits, for the security of the lifestyle, and many other reasons. So if you allow me, I would probably focus on the following 3 routes to move to the UK, which are the Tier 1 investor, the innovator visa, and the representative of overseas business. We will cover each of them in more detail. I believe the Tier 1 UK investor, most people in the market are aware of. It's a minimum investment of £2 million in UK economy. The advantage is there's no English requirements, but obviously for India market, it's irrelevant. Well, for example, for China clients, it's very, very important. And the investment has to be made for minimum amount of 5 years, minimum period of 5 years, and has to be in loan capital or share capital of UK companies. It will be 100% returned to you after the qualifying period, or obviously if you ever decide to stop the program, you know, it can also be refunded like in a matter of days. So under all of these programs, which we currently see on the screen, all 3 of them, the family can move to the UK, and the family qualifies as the main applicant, spouse, and children under 18. They have to be under 18 at the initial stage when the first entry clearance visa is granted. So UK Innovator is a much more affordable option. The minimum investment amount is £50,000. The English language requirement is higher, but here it has to be objectively someone with sufficient business experience or someone very talented who will show us that they have a viable, scalable, and innovative business idea. There's a certain number of endorsement bodies in the UK which are qualified and responsible for reviewing the business plan and making the judgment on whether the UK Innovator prospect qualifies or not. We'll cover again in detail. And there is one more option, which is representative of overseas business, which I believe should be much more popular than it currently is, because under that option, there is no minimum investment requirement. The English language is very basic. And pretty much we can bet almost anybody who is listening to us right now, and both yourselves and your clients, almost anyone, we can move to the UK within very comfortably within 6 months. And after all of these routes that we're currently reviewing, they lead to citizenship of the United Kingdom. The minimum time is 5 years, usually 6 years under the most of the routes. So now we can review all the options in more detail. Again, for Tier 1 Investor Immigration Program, the main requirement is investment of minimum £2 million. In this case, the permanent residence can be achieved in 5 years. If it's minimum 5 million, then the permanent residence for the main applicant can be achieved in 3 years. And if it's 10 million, then it can be achieved in 2 years. Funnily enough, our most recent 10 million client was an Indian student studying in the UK to become a doctor, I think. Yes, and his grandfather just so happens to give him £10 million. And he's actually already received his permanent residence. Yes, I believe so. And then the main advantages of the UK investor program, as opposed to any other, it's not a donation, for example, like it is in Malta. It's not an investment in real estate, which is overpriced, like for example in Cyprus. It's not an investment or it's not a donation where basically money is given away and there's no ambiguity in terms of whether the money comes back or not. There's 100% guarantee that the money will come back, and this program has been around for more than 20 years now. And we have never seen UK government or UK A-listed companies not fulfilling their obligations. So the money is 100% going to come back to the investor. That is actually something which I'm sure will give a lot of the investors the peace of mind. One of the main advantages is the quick processing, as opposed to, for example, Canada applications these days taking years to come through. obviously a very long waiting time with the EB5 in the US, it is very easy to come to the UK within, I would say, 2-3 months comfortably, very comfortably.
And I must add that we are very proud to confirm that our success rate under this UK visa route has been so far 100%.
Yes, exactly. So that is, in brief, the description of the immigration journey. The first entry clearance visa is always granted for 30 days. Within 30 days, the family comes to the UK. They collect the residence permit, biometric residence permit, which is valid for 3 years. After 3 years, they have an extension for another 2 years. And in 5 years, that's the very minimum investment amount. And also the same applies for innovator and representative overseas business clients. In 5 years, they can qualify for indefinite leave to remain, which is permanent residence. And a year later, they can apply for British nationality and British passport. Obviously, these materials will be available later to everybody to be distributed. So the main advantages, like I said, of the UK, I think they're very easy to see. Besides the fact of this being an English-speaking country, it is very fast processing. All the investment would be returned. And the success rate of 100%, that is also not everybody can boast. The downside sometimes for some of our clients who don't really want to move to anywhere and they're happy where they are, but they just want the passport. Obviously, we have solutions for those clients as well. But for the most part, we all live in the UK. We feel it's one of the best places to be. And moving on to the innovator visa, the main requirement is that the UK endorsing body agrees with the applicant that their idea is indeed innovative, scalable, and viable. I'm sure there's a lot of talented people in India, and I'm sure that there's a lot of startups which can be considered. So on a case by case, what we usually do, we can accept the business plan review and assess the chances. We do all of this absolutely free of charge and happy to assist whenever you have clients interested. Moving on to advantages and disadvantages, since it's a very new route, which was only introduced in March last year, there's only been a few dozens of applications approved so far. We understand that it's still a very popular option in the market with the investment amount only £50,000. This is basically something that almost anybody can scrap up. So it has huge potential. But again, like with every new product which hasn't been tried and tested, for example, after the end for the investor visas, for the representative overseas business, we already have clients who received citizenship and they're enjoying all the benefits of a British passport. With the innovator visa, since it only came into effect a year ago, no one's achieved ILR or citizenship yet. The requirements for indefinitely to remain would be quite strict. But again, we can discuss on a case-by-case basis. So moving on to representative of overseas business visa, that is exactly the route which pretty much anyone can use to move to the UK. The main requirements, there has to be an overseas company which doesn't already have a subsidiary or branch in the UK. There should be a genuine need for them to send a representative to the UK. That is usually easy to prove. We have 100% success rate with this route as well. And the main applicant should have worked for the parent company. Let's say it can be an Indian company, BVI company, China, Russia, Nigeria, US, you name it. So some overseas entity sends a representative to the UK. Representative comes with partner and children until under 18. There is no minimum requirement to invest any money. It is not even required to have an office, to rent an office and to have you can work from home. You do not have to hire anybody. You don't have to create any sort of turnover. There's no pressure for you to demonstrate that you've generated that amount of business or achieved any sort of milestones. As long as the parent company that sent you is happy with your performance, you carry on. There's not even a minimum requirement of how much, for example, the parent company has to pay as a salary, as long as it's something believable. So we usually say, like, let's say £30,000. So on average, a standard client would be someone with a company, let's say in India, and as long as that company sends you to the UK, I would say that again, 90% of our clients would be wives, because they don't really need to work in the UK. Usually the husband will have more flexibility. Under this route, the residency requirements are different. As long as the main applicant maintains minimum 6 months a year in the UK, the whole family would qualify for indefinite leave to remain. So, for example, the husband cannot even be present, but he will still receive permanent residence in the UK if the wife qualifies. Here are the advantages and disadvantages of this route. Again, zero investment required. It is always a good idea to define which one of the spouses needs to work in the UK and make that person the dependent, so that he has all the flexibility to take employment, set up a business, do anything, do nothing, study, whatever it is that they wish to do in the UK. The processing is very quick. It can be, I would say on average, it's within 6 weeks we have the decision and the family can actually freely move to the UK. The children can study in all private schools or all public schools without any other, or any further permits. And again, no requirements for creating jobs or revenue. So it is absolutely possible to obtain citizenship in the UK within 5-6 years. We would be happy to answer any questions. I can see that we have 5 minutes. Shall we move on to them?
Yes, thank you so much. Paulina and Tatiana, that was great. Just opening the podium right now for people to ask your questions. So please go ahead and raise your hands, and then my colleague will go ahead and unmute you so that you can ask your question. Lavanya, please.
Hi Vishal. Hi Vishal, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. So my question to this, the third visa which you said, which is the representation visa. So does this, suppose the owner of the company, I am the owner of my company in India, for example. So I can't go like as a representative. I have to send some employee.
Well, if you're the 100% owner of the Indian company, then it's not going to work. But for example, if you have a brother, father, mother, sister, brother-in-law, and they have a company, then that company can send you. So you can swap. So they send you, you send them, and that way we have 2 clients as opposed to 1.
The second solution will be for you if you trust your co-shareholders, so you can introduce new shareholders to your company. You can dilute your shares, become a minority shareholder. So you are supposed to hold not more than 40% of the shares in the overseas parent company that is going to send you to the UK.
Or it can be obviously, or you don't have to have shares at all. So basically, it is usually quite easy to find a company to take that sort of responsibility.
So there is, for this visa, I heard that there has to be a minimum of 1 year of employment which you have to prove. Is that true?
6 months. 6 months.
But how do you prove if it is like immediately if you want to come in someone's under company, how will you prove that he's working with me for 6 months?
Usually that would be tax returns and the bank statements showing that the salary has been paid consequently for not less than 6 months into your personal account, pay slips. Also, the company itself must have been in existence not less than at least 1 year prior to sending representative overseas, because it only makes sense that the newly established company is something that appeared, has been incorporated for just a month. They immediately want to expand their business overseas. Well, that doesn't sound convincing to the Home Office, although it might be completely true. So make sure that the company has been in the market not less than a year, and it can show the audited financial accounts to the Home Office, and then it will be the green light.
Is there a minimum turnover required for the same?
No, there is no minimum turnover.
But it just has to be credible. It has to be believable.
Reasonable.
So it should be an established entity, established company with a website, with some sort of turnover, with employees. Of course, it cannot be, you know, a corner shop.
Okay. So
there's
we
no
move on to our next question now.
In the UK. Sorry.
Thank you, Vishal. We move on to our next question. Hi, Lalit. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, everybody. I have one question. In my business, we have 2 partners, and we have a bank exposure of Indian currency 7 crore rupees. Can any of the partner can come for a overseas branch?
What is the share that the partner is holding? Each partner, is it 50-50?
Right now 50-50, but one can be, modified with 25% in that
Yes,
case.
absolutely. As long as it can be modified, then the minority shareholder can be the representative.
The upper limit of the share.
There's no limit. You can have 0 shares or you can have like 40%. As long as you're a minority
That means up to 40%.
shareholder, it will be the same, yes.
Actually, the main concern of the Home Office is that they want to make sure that the decision-making person is
Should
not
be in India. Yeah.
together with the company.
They want to make sure that the main operations remain overseas at all times. So obviously, if all their shareholders are moving to the UK, that's something.
Yeah, one more related small question. After moving to UK with a branch office, do you need the business has to be maintained in the same category? Suppose in India, I have a food processing unit, and maybe after moving to UK, I may start an online trading business there.
It is better to start the second business in the name of your partner, because the partner would be fully eligible to set up any new business, to be employed, self-employed, do anything, do nothing. Absolutely.
Any type of business we can start there, right?
Absolutely, in the name of your partner.
It's very beautiful. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, our next question is by Ranjan Sharma. What is the impact of Brexit with respect to opportunities in the UK?
Well, the impact of Brexit will have no relevance in this particular case because UK immigration rules are for non-EU nationals, and Brexit will only have effect for EU nationals, since India nationals are obviously non-EU state members. Therefore, there's absolutely, it's neither here nor there for them.
Okay. Mr. Harlal also has a question. Harlal, please go ahead. Kindly unmute yourself. Yes.
Yeah, please. Able to hear me?
Yes, yes.
All right. I just want to ask, what was about by investing 50,000 points in an innovator visa? What exactly the program this is all about?
Sorry, which visa are you talking about?
Again?
Innovator visa.
Yes.
So you mentioned by investing 50,000 pounds in this kind of program. So I just need some more clarification in this innovator visa. So what exactly anyone will get, any investor will get by investing 50,000 pounds in this?
Okay, it's not for the investor to invest 50,000. If it's an investment visa, it's a 2 million rule. For the innovative visa, you have to be someone with innovative idea, which is innovative, viable, and scalable, and you have to have 50,000 pounds to invest in your business if your innovative idea is recognized by the UK endorsing body as indeed innovative, viable, and scalable. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, agree. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, one last question. We have Kunal asking. Kunal, please ask your question.
Yeah, the thing is, I had Tier 1 UK 2,000 pound investor visa, Tier 1 entrepreneur visa, but it's expired March. I wasn't able to invest 200,000 pound, and I wasn't able to employ anyone because I had certain condition of my own. I have my own business running. So do I have? But now seeing the condition of out here, I'm really interested again in this. So what is the best option for me? Like it's expired on March.
The Tier 1 entrepreneur, are you saying the Tier 1 entrepreneur was granted to you?
Yes, it granted to you, and
you just didn't proceed with qualifying with the immigration requirements.
Yeah, but I was, I was out of United Kingdom for too long actually. Okay. I didn't satisfy 180 days. Right. I do have a company and I do open the bank account, but I think I have around maximum 3 to 4.
I think it will be very specific immigration advice. Maybe let's do it case by case. In general, since you have not been complying, it's actually not all hope is lost, and we can still kind of do something about this. But obviously, that would not be professional to give advice without actually seeing the documents.
Okay, I understood.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Paulina and Tatiana. The presentation was great. Some great questions coming in. Please check out the chat and the Q&As as well. There are a lot more questions that are coming in, but because we're short of time, we have to move on. So do answer the questions whenever you can. Also, for all the attendees, in case you have any more questions, once again, please note that Paulina and Tatiana will reach out to you via email, and you can ask them whatever questions you have. All right?
Okay.
Okay. So moving on to our next presentation. Thank you, Ben. Okay. Mr. Christos Vardikos, Counsel of Commonwealth of Dominica in Greece, and is the managing partner at Vardikos and Vardikos Law Firm. He will be presenting on Destination Europe, how to get European residency, citizenship through Greek and Dominica CBI programs. So over to you, Christos.
Hello, hello everybody. Just one moment to see how I will add my presentation.
Sure.
Is it added?
No, not yet. Share content. You can go on to share content and share whatever presentation that you have.
I'm doing it through. I'm doing it through an iPad.
Through the iPad. Okay, so click on share content, and then you will see the options of screens, photos, Dropbox, iCloud, etc.
Okay, it's on the. It's on my.
iCloud, right?
On my emails.
On your email.
Would you like to send it to me? I can probably share it from my side.
Yes, you can share it from your side. That's fine. Excellent.
Yeah. So can you share?
I have already sent to the listed attendees two presentations. One that is specific for Dominica and one that combines Dominica and Greece. So just a small presentation before. I'm a Greek lawyer. We specialize, amongst others, in shipping and commercial law, but we do have a very big immigration practice. We are one of the leaders of the Golden Visa in Greece. We have some government advisory also. And on the other side, I'm the consul of the Commonwealth of Dominica in Greece since 2005. Dominica is one of the Caribbean islands that offers citizenship since 1991. And we have our own offices in Dominica and in St. Lucia. That means we are not agents, we are service providers, and we combine the possibility of, we combine the capacity of the consulate. That means that everything is done in one stop. Why I combine my Greece and Europe and Dominica? For those who do not know, European Union is going to establish from the beginning of 2021 the ETIAS system, E-T-I-A-S. ETIAS will be a system that all visa-free passport holders for the European Union would have to register, and paying a €30 fee every 3 years, they will have an entry visa. That means that if you are Japanese, or if you are American, or if you are Dominican, or if you are Grenadian, or if you are St. Kittian, or even maybe the British also, they will all have to register online and get an approval of entry. The approval will be for every 3 years. So the scope of my presentation is that I'm presenting you here two jurisdictions that are at the entry level cost-wise. Dominica is at the entry level of all the Caribbean, and Greece is at the entry level of Europe. I will start from Greece. In Greece, you can get a residence permit, a PR, by buying a property of 250,000. You can buy many properties. They have to have an accrued value of 250,000. If real estate is not your goal, and you don't want to have a residence house in Europe, Greece has enacted a new alternative. You can buy Greek bonds, or you can have a fixed term deposit of 400,000 euros in a European bank, in a Greek bank. This gives you 5-year PR. It is renewable every 5 years as long as you keep or the house or the deposit. After 7 years of residence, it can lead you to citizenship. What does this permit give you, the golden visa? Either with money or with property. You have the right to live in Greece for your wife, your kids, and your in-laws or your parents. So 3 generations can be accommodated with either the deposit or the property. You don't have the right to work, but you have the right to have your own company. Greece, if you see on my presentation, there were 9,000 golden visas that have been issued since 2013, and it is indeed a very successful program. Now, let's pass to another possibility for Greece. The other possibility is, if you don't want to make an investment, there is a very trendy program that we have now, which is called the financially dependent. If the applicant shows that he has a 2,000 euro minimum income from a passive source, that is rent, pension, or fixed term deposits, and you accrue this amount of 2,000 euros, 20% for the wife and 15% for every kid, then you are eligible to have a residence visa in Greece. The residence visa is for 2 years, and you can extend it after every 3 years. Now, this is just a residence permit for you, your wife, and your kids below 18. But you need just to rent a small house. You don't need to have minimum stay in Greece, and you have a residence permit that allows you to circulate freely in Europe. This can cost from 10 to 15 to 20,000 euros, and it is something that totally depends on your lifestyle. Third category, we have the possibility, like England, to be director of a foreign branch office in Greece. The company can be anything, but we propose mainly to our clients to establish a European company and be the branch managers in Greece of the European company. They can bring their wives, their kids, and they are granted automatically a residence and a work permit in the European Union. After 18 months, according to the European Union directive, if you wish to wind up the company and go to another country, you can do it. You can wind up the company and you can transfer your work and residence permit to any other European country. This is a very quick procedure. It can last about 3 months, and the cost is not enormous. However, you need to have a real office in Greece and a small house or somewhere you can live. The company has to be real. It doesn't have to make any turnover. It can be just a marketing company, or it can be a real company, depending on the necessities and what you want to do for your business. Now, all these are in my presentation, and I'm going to focus on the last legislation in Greece, which is the non-dom. The non-dom is non-domiciled. You can be taxed resident in Greece if you wish. You need to have an investment of 500,000 euros, and you can transfer your tax residency in Greece for you and for your siblings. The only obligation you have in Greece is to pay a flat rate tax per year of 100,000 euros and 20,000 euros per sibling that accompanies you in Greece. So I think that the presentation of Greece is done. You have understood how easy in access and very low cost can be the access to Greece, and we will move to the Caribbean. Dominica has one of the oldest programs of citizenship. It is the most cost effective and the quickest in performance. It has been awarded 3 consecutive years by the Financial Times as the best citizenship program. It is very flexible, entry level. One single applicant is a donation of $100,000. Couple is $175,000. Family of 4 is $200,000. And every additional member is $25,000. The application can be children and parents, grandparents. We can module the application as per the needs of the client. Dominica has also, as the range development lady explained before, has also real estate projects. The difference is that the real estate project, you don't buy, and as amongst all the islands in the Caribbean, you don't buy a room, you don't buy a hotel room, or you don't buy a specific property. You are an equity shareholder in a project. That means Kempinski, that has been built by Range, is now an active business. The shareholders of Kempinski will have to get some dividends if the business is profitable. With the difference between Dominica and Grenada is that in Dominica, the minimum retention of the share of the hotel is 3 years. And the only obligation you have is that you can keep it 3 years, you can sell it, but the person who buys it can use it only after 2 more years. That means the share is usable every 5 years in order to be used for citizenship purposes. Indeed, now we have arrived at the secondary market, and we will see what is the market price of all these shares, because there are people who acquired the Dominican citizenship in 2014 and now can sell freely in the market their shares. The process is very quick. You need to bring passports, ID cards, driving licenses, marriage and birth certificates, criminal records from all the countries you have lived. You need to have a bank reference, bank statements for the past 12 months, and your degrees, and a brief description of your life. Once you have gathered all this documentation, we can process online without you moving and without us moving. We can process online your application. The only obligation that you have is to pay the due diligence fees and the application fees to the government. It is a very quick procedure, and in around 1.5 months, 2 months, we will have the report from the due diligence firm. If you are green and you are approved, that means that you will have a letter of comfort that will enable you to pay your donation, or pay the promoter in buying the share and paying a small amount of government fees to accompany your investments. Once you have paid your donation or government fees and investment at any of the hotels that are being built and are government approved projects, then you are granted your certificate of naturalization, your passports. Eventually, we can accommodate you with a driving license, with a tax number, you can eventually have a tax residency in Dominica if this is needed for you. And Dominica gives citizenship for all generations, all forthcoming generations. That means that by birth, your children and the children of your children are going to be Dominicans. Occasionally, for people who don't have the financial capability when they apply to add their siblings, there are special provisions provided by the government to add several siblings. And now, how you can combine these two? Dominica application would cost you around 215,000 to 220,000 for a family. You will have a passport that gives you access to all Europe, to Russia, to Ukraine. China is coming up. Dubai and UAE is like all the Caribbean islands, a visa on arrival. You have most parts of Africa and most parts of all the Latin America. You have around 140 countries. How you can combine it with Greece? If you are a Dominican citizen, you are still liable to have the ETIAS as an American or as a Japanese from January 2021. We provide you a residency in Greece. So as a Dominican citizen, on your passport, you will have a European residence that will permit you to travel all around Europe without hassle. And eventually, when you decide which country you're going to settle, if it is Greece, can eventually help you to apply for Greek citizenship. I think that I should be on time, and I think that I have finished.
Okay, great. Thank you, Christmas. That was a very insightful presentation on Dominica and Greece. I now open the platform for your questions. Whoever has questions, please go ahead and raise your hands so you can go ahead and ask your questions. I think we already have one person, Ash, who has asked a question. Lavanya, can you do the needful? Can you unmute Ash and let him ask his question?
Hello. Yes, hi. I wanted to know how much is the rate of interest on the fixed deposits of 400,000 euros bonds you said you need to invest in Greece?
400,000 euros. It depends on the bank. There are 4 systemic banks in Greece that are being governed by the European Central Bank. It is, I think that should be around 1.5 to something like that.
All right. So I think investment.
Let me interrupt you. The fixed term deposit is a possibility that we have given to all foreign investors that do not want to have the peril, the risks of buying property or the burdens of having a property in Greece, to rent it, to manage it. You have your money here, your money are guaranteed. You are at a European bank. You don't open a bank account anywhere in the world. It is fully guaranteed, and you can renew your term deposit as long as you want to stay in Greece.
I think it's very less, and with the amount of investment we want to do in real estate, it's better to invest 250,000 euros with the capital appreciation also, and probably you can enjoy, traveling to Europe visa-free also.
This is a personal choice. I mean, all the options are open.
Yes, I got it. Thanks.
Okay, great. Moving on to the next question. I think Lalit has a question. Lavanya, can you do the needful?
Hi, sir. My question for Dominica is, what are the age requirements of minimum and maximum?
I didn't get you.
For Dominican, what is the minimum and maximum age requirements?
You can be 18 and you can apply.
Minimum is 18?
Yes.
And is there any maximum? Pardon me?
You can be 88 years old or 90 and you can apply if you want.
Okay.
There is no maximum. There is no maximum limit.
Okay. And what is the difference between the donation amount and real estate buying? Are both the amounts same?
If you make the donation, it is money that are given to the government. Yes. If you make the, if you buy the share in one of the approved projects, you pay 220,000 to the promoter, and depending the size of your application, depending the size of your family that you apply with, you pay some government fees. They start from 25,000, they go to 35 for 4 people, they go to 50 for up to 5 people, and above it's 70,000.
I'm talking about one.
Rate. It is a small donation that you still make to the government.
No, I'm talking about single applicant. I'm talking about single applicant. As you said, 100,000. Is it for donation or for buying real estate?
It is for donation.
And what about buying real estate for single applicant?
If the client wants to buy a real estate and he has to pay 220 for the share capital, the transfer shares, the stamp duty for the transfer of shares, 25,000 to the government, and the due diligence.
And what is the lock-in period?
250, let's put it that way.
What is the lock-in period?
I beg your pardon?
Lock-in period of the investment.
3 years.
Okay, thank you very much.
And you can sell it after 3 years to the market.
Okay, we have a next question by Vishal. Vishal, please go ahead.
Yeah. My question is that there is one visa which you specifically said where if you show income of 2,000 euros per month and you get a 2-year visa. Can you just explain in detail if you can, possible, if time permits?
You have to show that you have passive income in your country, or let's say you have an apartment in Dubai and you have $5,000 a month as a rent.
Okay.
Based on this income, you can apply for the financially independent visa. You have an interview with a Greek consul at any Greek consulate. He will grant you a national visa D. You will come to Greece. We will rent you a small apartment, and we will file for you the residence permit, and you will be a resident on the basis that you can sustain yourself with a passive income, with an income that comes, it's stable, secure, and it comes every month into your bank account.
Right.
If the client does not have that and cannot show that, alternatively, we can open a bank account in Greece. You can deposit the amount that is minimum required, and so that the consul and the administration see that you have the money in Greece in a Greek bank. So that you can live in Greece without being penniless.
Okay. And what is the visa called?
Financial independent person.
Independent person. Okay.
If you go on our website, it has the complete description. We have 98% success rate on our visas of FIP. The 2% is that people, when they go to have the interview, they don't have the correct responses to the consul.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can you share the website later on the email?
Yeah,
it is
sure.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, I think we've got. I think there was one last question from Umesh, and then we'll move on to our next speaker. Umesh, do you want to ask the question? Lavanya, can you unmute Umesh?
Yeah, I'm just. His question is, how much time will the process take?
For which one? For which procedure?
Umesh, please ask your question. You can unmute yourself.
I think we'll.
Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, sir. How much time it will be take for this process actually, for the donation or the investment in real estate actually?
For Dominica, you mean?
Yeah, Dominica.
Yeah, maximum within 2 months I can have the approval. Within the next 40 days I can have the passport ready.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Everything is being done online. We are online with the government. The same moment we file, the same moment we pay, the same moment that your file is moving to the due diligence.
We have one last question by Halal. Halal, please go ahead.
Yeah, my question is that by investing 250,000 into the property, you mentioned that you will get a 5-year PR visa. So what is about the citizenship? I would just want to have some.
You apply after 7 years. Upon your renewal, you can apply after. You wait 2 more years and you can apply after.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, great. So with this, we come to the end of the presentation. Christos, thank you so much for the amazing presentation. Moving on to our next panelist, Mr. Mike Zenik, CEO at Invest America. He is going to present on how to live and invest in the USA. Mike, over to you now. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you very much. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity today, and I appreciate everybody's time this evening participating, and hope all you and your families are safe and healthy during this time. My name is Mike Zenik. I'm the President and CEO of Invest America. We are an investment banking firm, consulting and advisory firm based in the United States. We've been around for about 10 years. We are affiliated with a group in Charleston, South Carolina called Sequence Financial Specialists, which is a registered securities broker dealer. And we'll talk about why that's important in a few minutes. So we have one basically mission in our business, and that is to guide, protect, and support families as they immigrate to a better life in the United States. Every decision we make, every project we represent, every due diligence analysis that we do, every investor we represent runs through the lens of this mission. And if it doesn't meet this mission, we don't pursue it. And that's important for a lot of reasons, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes as well. So today we're going to talk about a little bit about our company, our experience, what we do specifically, which is different than, say, an EB-5 regional center. We're going to talk about the EB-5 and E-2 visa programs that are available in the United States. And then we're going to talk about just a few next steps of what we can do for the majority of the people on this webinar who are looking to partner with us and for Indian representatives. So here's a quick view of our team. This is actually a kind of a abbreviated view of our team. We have people in the marketing department and operations and accounting, business development located throughout the United States, as well as an office in London and a presence in India and in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So what makes us different? Well, essentially, because, as I mentioned before, we're affiliated with a securities broker dealer in the United States. We are all registered securities professionals. And what that means is we must live and abide by U.S. securities laws. And again, it's different than a lot of, or it's an additional thing that most EB-5 groups don't possess. They don't partner with a broker dealer. They're not registered securities professionals, and that's important for a couple of different reasons. Number one, we are regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So everything we do is scrutinized by them. Every offering we put out available for investors to invest in, every investor that we bring in, looking at their source of funds, looking at, are they suitable for this investment? Once they make this investment, will they be able to support their family and live their lifestyle? Those are the kinds of things that we have to answer to the regulatory authority of the SEC, which is the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, or FINRA. The other thing that being a securities firm does is it requires us to do extensive project due diligence. So obviously there's lots of projects available in the United States for EB-5. It's a lot less now with some of the changed rules, but our focus is on extensive project due diligence. And that basically means we take a deep dive into each project that we are considering for representation. About 1 in 100 projects that we see is made available on our platform. So we look at financial projections, we look at the underlying assumptions for those projections, we look at the management team, the real estate developer, do they have the track record that they purport to have? Do they, all the facts that they're saying, we get independently verified. We do background checks on them. So there's lots of due diligence that goes into this to ultimately, number one, protect the investors from both fraud and some other, from bad projects, but also to ensure and to, improve the possibilities of them having a successful outcome with an EB-5 or an E2 process. To date, we've had a 100% approval rate. We've been doing this, like I said, for about 10 years. We've represented about 350 families in 20 countries around the world, notably concentrated in Brazil and India. The majority of our investors have come from those two countries. And so far, everybody that's filed for their I-526 or I-829, which is the initial conditional permanent residency and final unconditional permanent residency, have been approved. So as I mentioned, we've been in the EB-5 industry since 2010. We've seen a lot of changes in that period of time. There's been some rapid growth in the 2010 to 2014 or 15 range, and some downturn once China went into retrogression, and certainly over the last several months since the rules changed. But we have the experience to do that, and our focus is, again, mitigating risk and improving the possibility of success for the investors. We also provide a free consultation for anybody that's looking at a particular project. It's a 21-point analysis that looks at a lot of the important features and terms of EB-5 offerings, and make sure that the investors and their representatives understand which of those 21 points are important, which characteristics of those 21 points need to be present, or at least should be present, to, again, maximize the chance of success. We'll do that for projects that people are looking at. We'll also do it to compare it to the projects that we represent, to show the difference between some of the key terms and make sure that people are making the right decisions. We also, again, because we're a securities firm, we give constant support. So once we work with an investor and get them into one of our projects, our focus and our duty, actually through securities laws, is we must represent that investor from the moment they invest until the moment that they exit the investment. They actually become our client, and we have to look out for them. So if something's going wrong with the investment, if something's going wrong with the developer, they're not being responsive, they have some questions, it's our duty at that point to represent the investor and make sure that their concerns are answered, and that our previous client, which is the actual people that we raised the money for, can address their concerns. So as I mentioned briefly, the EB-5 regulations changed in November of last year. The minimum investment amount got raised to $900,000 for projects that are in targeted employment areas, and for projects that are not, the investment amount is $1.8 million. The target employment area regulations also changed, making it much more difficult for projects that are in higher unemployment areas, particularly some large cities. Just about all of New York City now does not qualify as a targeted employment area, which limits the amounts of projects that will be available in those big cities, and also makes it even more important to work with a group that does due diligence on projects. If you're working in projects that are in some markets that may not be recognizable to international investors, and these are going to be typically in some higher unemployment areas that are that are improving their development and focusing on their redevelopment. So it's important that that you work with a seasoned and firm that does a lot of due diligence that we do, and also works to make sure that projects are geared to protect investors. So, as most of you probably know already, the EB-5 Immigrant Investor Program is available for the investor's spouse, and all of their children under the age of 21, unmarried children under the age of 21. So here's a quick view of 3 of the projects that we've closed in the last couple of years. All of these were based in New York, but we've represented 30 projects over the last 10 years, all over the country: Florida, Texas, California, the Carolinas, Chicago, and other places. These particular projects were extremely successful, have been extremely successful. Everybody in the first project was approved for conditional residency, and just about all of them now have applied for the removal of those conditions with their I-829 application. One in the middle is the project that we just finished right before the rules changed in November. That was a $28 million EB-5 capital raise. Each of these projects were between $260 to $300 million in total cost, and the EB-5 portion was right around 10% of the capital stack. Again, one of the features that makes a project a little more viable, at least a lot less risky for the EB-5 investor, and improves the chance of having a successful exit. And each of these also, the EB-5 investor is in a preferred position ahead of the developer equity. So that's a nice transition. So as I mentioned, we represent EB-5 projects. We're not a regional center. We are not a real estate developer. We are a registered securities firm, an investment banking firm that has offerings on our platform. Right now, we are looking to add several projects to our platform. Several projects are in the due diligence phase right now in a variety of asset classes. One of the projects that we currently represent, which we represented right before the change last year, is called Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. We found several investors before the change, and now we've relaunched the project. It's in a targeted employment area very comfortably. And as you can see here, it's a large project. It's a $1 billion project. It's about 60% complete. Construction continues on this project quite aggressively, even through all this current changes in the world. And it's still on track to be completed in December of 2020. So far, it's generated over 2,800 jobs, or about 25 jobs per investor. And ultimately, it's projected to raise almost 9,000 jobs, or about 80 jobs per investor. So well above the 10 job per investor requirement. The EB-5 portion is a small part of the capital stack, which we'll look at in a moment. Again, looking for a completion in December 2020, investors will be receiving a 3% annual return. And there's an I-526 denial refund guarantee if somebody gets their I-526 denied. So real quick look at the capitalization here. EB-5 capital, as I mentioned, represents under 10% of the capital stack, just like our New York projects did. Senior loan of $450 million. It's already mostly been put in by a consortium of banks led by Credit Suisse. Developers put in $373 million of their own money. They will continue to put money up to about $463 million. And they've bridged the EB-5 portion. So the project's not reliant on EB-5. It will just replace the bridge as that investment comes in. So quick project overview here. This is the first construction on the downtown area of Las Vegas since 1980. It's an area of Las Vegas that's under a resurgence right now, with lots of new entertainment venues, lots of new shopping that has been attracting over 19 million people per year to the area. And it is going to be basically the the bell cow of the Fremont Street experience in downtown Las Vegas. So just a quick run through. Going to be 500 and almost 600 rooms, luxury suites, a 2-level casino, a huge pool with a huge LED screen, and a 2-story casino, 3-story sports book as well. The developers have experience in the casino space. They own 2 hotels and casinos right now, the D Hotel and Golden Gate, which are extremely profitable and debt-free. And they've done a lot of other large-scale developments in and around Las Vegas and actually throughout the world. So I'm not going to show you the, in the interest of time, I'm not going to show you the time-lapse video here, but I'll start it running and then I'll move forward. Essentially, as I mentioned, they broke ground in February of 2019. They are adding right now about a floor every week and still on track, as I mentioned before, to be completed in December of 2020. So that's EB5. And before I move on to E2, just to reiterate, we will be adding additional offerings to our platform here and over the course of the next 30 to 60 days. So in a variety of asset classes, multifamily, hospitality, probably a senior care facility, and some other asset classes as well. So the E2 visa, we've heard a little bit about this early on from Mariam, and I'm not going to try not to repeat most of what she said. However, it is worth noting that the E2 visa is a great opportunity for people to get to the United States much more quickly than EB5, and obviously more affordably than EB5. For Indians, as mentioned before, since India is not an E2 treaty country with the United States, they need to go through some other citizenship by investment program. And Grenada obviously is a great selection, great choice for that. We work with several groups that are focused on Grenada and can help facilitate that process. This visa, again, requires an investment. It's the regs say 150. I'm sorry, the regs say a substantial amount, which there's no real specific number. However, the number that seems to have worked over time and satisfy that requirement is at least 150,000. Most of our projects and available E2 investments have a higher investment size than that. Again, must own 50% or more and control the business. Could be any kind of business. We've got partnerships with a national franchise broker and also a national business broker. So we have access to businesses in any industry that you can think of in any part of the country. So we basically take the interests and the desires of an investor, where they want to live, what skill sets do they have, what's their education, what's their business experience. We kind of put all that together and give them back an idea of several different options for them to select. Our focus then is on really kind of helping them evaluate those opportunities. The time frame again is, we've seen things as fast as 4 months. Typically, though, the entire process usually can take up to 9 months, depending on a lot of different factors, the types of business you invest in, and how quickly information is gathered, and how quickly the other side gets back to you in negotiations, those types of things. So again, available for the investor, their spouse, and unmarried children under the age of 21. It's renewable every 1 to 5 years, depending on where somebody's from. That kind of fluctuates year to year. There's been some adjustments for people from different nationalities that have made it renewable more quickly. The business must remain profitable. The spouse can seek employment in the United States, and children under 21 can also study in the United States. It's a dual intent visa, so it basically gives somebody the option to pursue permanent residency, green card status through EB5 or some other available pathway. Here's kind of what we do, which is we provide a one-stop shop. We provide introductions to a variety of qualified U.S. Immigration counsel to help them prepare their petition. We help prepare the E2 business plan. And our most important role, though, is helping people to evaluate their business investment opportunities. We conduct due diligence on each of the investment opportunities to make sure that it's a viable business, will be a viable business, has been a successful business in the past. And we represent the investor in negotiations with whichever company they may be buying, investing into, or creating. So our team has over 20 years combined experience in the E2 space. We focus on businesses all over the country. Here's some of the listing of some of the industries that have been popular recently: fitness and beauty and home services, restaurants, business outsourcing, senior living facilities, lots of others as well that are there, but these are some of the more popular ones. We've had over 120 successful placements with our partners. And we also make sure we work with people that have good training programs to make sure if somebody's uncomfortable operating or managing a business, that they're going to get the proper training to either do it themselves or find somebody to do that for them. We've had investment ranges anywhere from $100,000 on the low end to $1 million on the high end. So basically, how can we work together? Well, we invite everybody on this call that works with investors and prospects to set up an introductory call with you. You'll be getting a copy of this presentation and a follow-up email from us after this presentation is over. And in the meantime, you can visit our website, investamericap.com. We'd like to understand what role you play. What's your experience? What's the profile of your target person? What are you there from the very beginning to the very end? Do you have other services that you provide along the way? We'd like to understand your situation, and then we can figure out the best way for us to work together. So with that, I thank you and welcome any questions.
Thank you, Mike. That was a very nice presentation. Moving on to questions. We already have a couple of attendees who have raised their hands. I see Jane Lee. Lavanya, can you unmute Jane? And Jane, can you go ahead and ask your question, please?
Yes. Hi, Jane. Please go ahead. You can unmute yourself. Oh. Jane, can you unmute yourself? Okay, do we move on to the next question?
Yeah, we can move on to the next person. I think we've got
we've got Rajiv here.
Rajiv, yeah.
Yes. Rajiv, please go ahead. Please unmute yourself. I'm not sure why.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we've got Lalit as well and Harar. We've got a couple of guys who just raised their hands.
Hi, Lalit. Please unmute yourself.
Already I've done it.
Yeah. I
have two questions. Since the investment required for E5 and E2 is drastically very, very different, like 900,000 USD for E5. And if you go through E2, through some other treaty country, it is quite less. Is there any drawback with E2 route?
Well, the main difference between the E2 and EB5 is EB5 is permanent residency, and it's an immigrant visa. The E2 visa is not an immigrant visa. It's a work visa through investment. So it's not permanent residency. It has some of the benefits of permanent residency, like being able to work and live in the United States, but it's renewable. So the business must remain profitable and otherwise in business and lawfully employing people in the business. So if that is not continued every time the business comes up for renewal, then the investor must go back home. Whereas again, permanent residency is for life under EB5. That's the main difference between the two.
What is the minimum duration of residency with E2 approval?
For E2?
Yeah.
Well, again, it's not residency. It's just it's a work visa.
But you need to be resident there for maintaining your business there.
Yeah, it's typically for most countries it's a 5-year renewal process. So once you get in here every 5 years, the business is reviewed and renewal is granted. If again the business is profitable and continued, the amount of renewals is unlimited. And again, some people from different countries may have a shorter renewal period, but the average is most of the time it's every 5 years.
Okay, since in India there are many businessmen or investors having mid-size capital, so is it allowed to get the rest of the investment borrowed from any friends or relative or maybe in a banking unit?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
For a middle-class investor who wants to go through E2, but he is not having sufficient capital with him, so is it allowed for him to get it borrowed from any friend or relative or maybe a bank?
Sure, he can. The mention before of lawful source of funds, that will be a consideration to figure out where the funds were obtained. However, the being able to get it as a gift or borrowing it from other sources is allowed.
Okay. And suppose I want to get associated with your company to give services to people in Central India, because I hail from Central India. So what are the procedures you prescribe?
Well, let's have a conversation about that. We have multiple relationships with people, and it really is a customized group by group decision based on what both sides are going to do. So I welcome a conversation with you to discuss that further.
Yeah, Lalit, I think Mike will reach out to you after the webinar.
Thank you very
for
much.
all the attendees to know that all our panelists will send you an email so you can connect with them afterwards.
Okay.
Moving on to the next question.
Yeah, we have Samir Arya. He's been wanting to ask a question. Samir, you're most welcome to ask. Please unmute yourself.
Sure. Hi, Mike. My name is Samir. And I wanted to know in how much time can one get a permanent residency or the green card in the United States with E2 visa? And another question is also, does the business have to be profitable?
For the E2?
Yes.
Yes, for the E2, the business must remain profitable in order to continue to qualify. So, that's the general rule. There's obviously details that go along with that, depending on the business. But generally speaking, the business must continue to be profitable. And I'm sorry, your first question was how long it takes?
Yes.
Well, the E2 typically takes, again, it's got to be paired for if you're from a non-treaty country like India, it must be paired with another citizenship by investment program like Grenada. So notwithstanding that time frame, it usually takes, it can take as little as 2 or 3 months, but usually it takes around 6 to 9 months to get through that process. The EB-5 can also be, because I think you asked about that too, the EB-5 process can be started alongside the E2, and in fact can lead, the E2 investment can lead to an EB-5 as well if it's structured properly and done planned ahead of time. The time frame for an EB-5 is a bit of a moving target because the process itself takes as short as it can take, depending on the obtaining the funds as well as gathering all the documents and information that are necessary to prove source of funds. But once the application is filed, between the adjudication backlog that USCIS has, some of the delays for Indian nationals that are being encountered right now, which we understand will likely be going away sometime this summer, which would be beneficial. The process for kind of a normal average process for people from non-retrogress countries typically takes about 5 years. It's on the upswing from that, but however, since the program increased in November, the number of applications has dipped substantially. So the USCIS adjudicators are getting a lot of those off of their desk right now and over the course of the next few months should start getting caught up, at least hopefully. So, you know, I would say for an Indian national right now, for the EB-5 process would probably take around, you know, I'd say, you know, 7 to 8 years at the high end. And again, that number should be going down as they get through the piles and as some of the visas that are available now this year get reallocated to some of the retrogressed applicants.
Right. What I wanted to know also is that after the issuance of the E2 visa, in how much time can one apply for a green card?
You can apply for it right away. You don't have to wait. It's a dual intent visa. So, so E2 is a dual intent visa. So you can apply for EB-5 on the heels of your E2.
Okay. I think we'll have just one last question because we have to move on to our last presentation. We're already ahead of time. So Lavanya, yeah, one last question, please.
I think Ranjit had a question. Ranjit, please go ahead.
Yeah, I got my questions answered, sir. The previous, yeah.
Sure. I think we are good. We can move on to.
Yeah, we'll move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Mike, thank you for such an insightful presentation. Our final panelist for today is Mr. Ignacio Donoso, founder and managing partner at Donoso and Partners LLC, Canada. He will be presenting on Canada and US immigration, adapting to changes during COVID-19. Hi, Ignacio, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm trying to share my screen, but it's telling me you cannot share screen with other participant sharings. I don't know.
Lavanya will take care of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Desktop one? I don't know. Share computer sound, optimize screen. Well, this is not going as expected.
Okay. Do you want me to do it for you?
Can you see the presentation now?
No. I can do that for you. No worries.
I sent you my presentation. Thank you, Lavanya. I appreciate it.
I will do that for you.
In the meantime, while Lavanya is getting the presentation on the screen, I'll tell you a little bit about myself and my law firm. I'm an immigration attorney based in Washington, D.C. I also have offices in Toronto and Delhi. I've been a lawyer in Canada and the United States for over 20 years. And working in immigration for the better part of that since 2003 in particular. Before that, I sold my soul to the corporate slaves, working in mergers and acquisitions very happily. And so I have a kind of a unique perspective on investor immigration because I've bought and sold companies, created joint ventures, distribution agreements throughout my career. And it is a kind of a unique set of skills when you're dealing with immigration law. In relation to Canada, the work that we've done has been very, very strong. In relation to the United States, I have to say it's even stronger. We've been recognized many, many times for our work in the EB-5 field and investor immigration for E2s. Obviously, with an office in Delhi and an office in Toronto, we're perfectly positioned to work in relation to visas for all of North America. So today's presentation is about Canadian immigration. So the question becomes, why Canada, which is slide number 3. Can everybody see that?
Okay, I'm on slide number 3, why Canada, right?
Yeah, so we started with O Canada, which is kind of a play on words on the Canadian National Anthem, which are the first words of the Canadian National Anthem. And slide number 2 is a little bit about our history, and slide number 3 is why Canada. So the way I look at the world of immigration is that sometimes doors open and sometimes doors close. And for many immigrants looking at the landscape across the world, the United States, for example, is going through a particularly interesting, colorful period in its history. But for immigrants, that has meant long waiting lists, a lot of regulatory changes, and a narrowing of immigration programs to the United States. Canada, on the other hand, already went through that. I think some of you may remember the Prime Minister in Canada a few years ago named Harper. And Prime Minister Harper was an immigration restrictionist, and he he made it quite difficult to immigrate to Canada. And then he was replaced eventually through election by Prime Minister Trudeau, who is currently in place right now. And his administration, his government changed the Canadian immigration system to make it much more accessible and open. And what's driving the reason why Canada is opening its doors to immigrants is the growth of the country and the aging population, which are similar factors to many other countries. So what does that mean? It means that the Canadian economy has been growing quite well until this recent crisis. Obviously, everything that I'm saying regarding the Canadian economy has an asterisk on it, which is we have no idea what's going to happen after this COVID-19 crisis is over. But in general, the Canadian economy has been doing very well. Technology businesses, real estate businesses, financial services, all kinds of businesses have been growing extraordinarily well. Canadian companies are offering technology services. Typically, they benefit from very skilled workers at a very attractive rate because the Canadian dollar is cheaper than the American dollar. It's as simple as that. I think in today's exchange rate, you're looking at a 35 to 40% improvement over the American dollar. Additionally, the Canadian society is very welcoming of immigrants, has been for decades. It's a very diverse society with a strong history of immigration from Asia, including China and India and many, many other countries. It has a very, let's say, diverse set of skills. You can live very happily in Canada as a skilled or an unskilled worker or an investor of any kind. Very safe, very stable country. And of course, for immigrants, it's all about their children. It's all about the future. And education in Canada is renowned. Why? It is accessible, very cheap. It's extraordinarily good. Canadian high schools, Canadian universities are simply on par with some of the best universities in the United States. They don't reach the heights of Oxford or Cambridge or Harvard, but can you find education that is comparable to those at a cost that's very, very attractive compared to those universities? Yes, absolutely. And what happens frequently is that Canadian students study their initial diplomas at university in Canada, whether it be University of Toronto, which is one of the top 30 universities in the world, University of British Columbia, McGill University in Montreal, top 50 universities across the world. And they study their diplomas there, and then they may go to another part of the world to finish their education and then either settle somewhere else or stay in Canada and grow their career in Canada. Canada's financial sector is based out of Toronto in the Bay Street area. That's Canada's Wall Street, and it's a very, very growing and dynamic sector. Permanent residency in Canada is quite accessible. That's slide number 4. So now we're going to get into the meat of the Canadian immigration programs. The best known program that Canada has right now is the Express Entry System, and this is the famous point system that Canada introduced in 2015. The point system basically asks you to lay out a profile and will assign you a number of points based on that profile. And if you qualify based on the number of points, then you're selected as an immigrant and you're given permanent residency, which is very, very attractive. The problem with this program is that it skews heavily in favor of people that are very young and very educated. Those are considered the most attractive immigrants for Canada. And so the program sets a selection system that favors those people. For people that are a little older, even past their early 30s, into their 40s, this program is not likely going to be as successful as it is for a younger person with a high level of education and strong English language or French language skills. So the Express Entry program then breaks down into several other programs, some for federal skilled workers, which is called the Federal Skilled Worker Program, some for people that have worked in Canada, called the Canadian Experience Class. And then the most interesting part of it is called the Provincial Nominee Program. So provincial nominees are people that have the support of a province to immigrate to Canada. And I'll explain what that means, but that creates tremendous opportunity for immigration to Canada. Once you're selected with the Express Entry System, you're given an invitation to apply, which is basically a government authorization to proceed with your immigration process. And you proceed quickly to get permanent residency in Canada. That's Canada's green card. The usual cutoff of the number of points that you're looking for is in the 470 point range out of 1,200 points. That is not an easy cutoff to get in practice, particularly if you're over 30 years old. And we'll find out ways how we can access that through other means. So let's go to the next slide, which is entitled Permanent Residence PNP Entrepreneurs. So provincial nominee programs, or PNPs, are programs that were created by the federal government delegating authority to each of the 10 provinces to run their own immigration programs, which is super interesting. That means that the Canadian government, as a federal entity, as an entity that controls the whole country, said, well, each province, you go ahead and do your own thing in terms of attracting people that you think will benefit your province. And each province has a program for entrepreneurs, which means investors. So the idea is, if you invest in the province in the way that the program requires, then you will get a very large number of points for the point system that will immediately qualify you to get permanent residency. So the overall landscape typically has three or four key variables. Number one is net worth on the right-hand side of the screen. Programs in Canada require typically net worth of at least Canadian dollar 250,000 up to Canadian dollar 950,000. Okay, all the dollar amounts I'm citing are in Canadian dollars. That means that you have to show through verifiable documents evaluated by a certified auditor that you have this money in your asset pool. And it can be, stocks, it can be bonds, it can be real estate or savings, whatever, but it has to be there. Then you additionally have to invest a certain amount of money in Canada in the business that you're either buying or starting, okay? And that threshold is typically at the lowest end, 100,000 Canadian dollars, and at the highest end, it could be around 500 or 600,000 Canadian dollars. You also have to have business experience. This is not for novices. And you also have to have language abilities. I've had good cases get tripped up because the immigrant doesn't have the ability to pass language tests that are required in Canada. And that's different than US immigration. US immigration, there are no language tests. You may get a question asked about that at the consulate, but the US Immigration Service does not request you to prove that you have knowledge of the English language in 95% of all cases. Similar with E2s, you don't get asked that question unless there's a reason for it. But in Canada, on the other hand, you have to go ahead of time and take a language test that requires at least a level 4 or level 5 passing grade of that test. It can be in English or French. If you know both, even better, but you need at least that. The minimum ownership requirements are in the 33% range. For some programs, you require at least 51%. But the key concept here, if you look at what this set of rules really creates, is that you're getting permanent residency for buying or starting a small business. These are not million-dollar companies. These are much smaller, and that means that it's much more accessible to immigrants. It lowers the risk threshold. It increases the ability to get through the program successfully. And obviously you're investing in your own business. So if you're an entrepreneur, this could be extremely attractive for you. In addition to that, in the next slide, there's two other visa programs that are very attractive and used very, very frequently by entrepreneurs moving to Canada. These are temporary visas to Canada that then can turn into permanent residence. One is called the Intercompany Transfer. This, if you know US immigration law, is identical to the L1A, L1B Intercompany Transfer Program. The rules are the same. You have to have a company abroad that transfers an executive or a senior manager into an affiliated group company in Canada. If you don't have an affiliated group company in Canada, then the foreign company can start a new business in Canada, transfer the foreign manager or executive to Canada. The visa will only last 1 year, and you are allowed, obviously, to renew it. It's just that you have the first initial visa only lasts 1 year. Again, that is identical to the US new company L1A program. The requirements are that you need to have 51% ownership by the foreign affiliated company of the new Canadian company or the company that you're buying in Canada. And the foreign worker has to show that they have managerial role abroad, 1 year of experience abroad, and they will be occupying a managerial role in Canada. If anybody knows the L1A or the EB1C program for the United States, this is almost identical. One that's not identical, it's completely idiosyncratic and novel in the Canadian scene, is the owner-operator labor market impact assessment, LMIA. That is on the right-hand column in the screen that you're looking at right now. This is a super interesting program because it essentially fits the model of start a business, get a green card, or get permanent residency for those that are following this. This is unique. It is not like the US direct investment EB5 program, in the sense that there are no minimum investment thresholds and there are no requirements to create at least 10 jobs. This is a program intended to allow somebody from abroad to buy or start a Canadian business. They have to get 51% ownership. That's critical, but they don't have to have 100%. They can have a local partner, for example. And the minimum investment is not set by law, but rather is measured on a sliding scale based on the requirements of your business. Notice there's no minimum net worth requirement in this program, which gives it tremendous flexibility. There's no requirement that the foreign company be affiliated with a Canadian company. Again, more flexibility. The real challenge is starting the business and getting the business off the ground. The Canadian government will be very demanding in this program to ascertain whether the business is viable, is operating. This is not a passive investment. This is for somebody who is willing to roll up their sleeves, get on the ground floor and basically start the business, run the business. Which of course begs the question, well, if you don't have a minimum asset or minimum investment requirement, do you have to prove how much you're investing? The answer is yes. So again, the government will check that you have enough money to execute whatever business proposal you are submitting to the government, okay? So very interesting and very helpful program. Additionally, there are other programs run by the provinces called provincial pilot programs. And these are, again, standalone province programs that the provinces create because they want to attract more people to their provinces. So are they used by the main provinces in Canada? No. So what are the main provinces in Canada? Ontario is number one. Why? It's the business center, the industrial heartland of Canada. British Columbia is right up there. Why? It's one of the most beautiful places you could imagine, tremendously dynamic. It's on the west coast of Canada, so it's close to home if you're from Hong Kong or China or India. And it is a very dynamic, growing economy that has extraordinary potential. It's right across the border from Seattle and gets all the benefits of being on the west coast. Again, there's other provinces as well. In Canada's heartland, in terms of it being its breadbasket, are the prairie provinces, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, also oil-producing regions and things like that. So each of these provinces runs their own program to attract people to their provinces, and they're called pilot programs. Now, the provinces on the East Coast, right above the United States, New Hampshire, Maine, are called the Atlantic provinces. And those include Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, and Newfoundland. And they each have special programs to attract people to their provinces because they're a little out of the way and they want to grow. They want to attract immigrants that can bring capital and skills and things like that. So the diversity of immigration programs to Canada is one of the key features and one of the reasons why we do a lot of consultations to try and explain to people where they may fit in. So in terms of our procedures as a law firm, we always do a pre-screening for clients. We find out what their goals are, why they're moving, who is coming, and what is their time frame. And then we try and say, well, given the landscape in Canada, this is what could be workable for you. So that's tremendously important. We don't tend to just view immigration as a one-size-fits-all, rather totally the opposite. Our years and years of experience with investor immigration to Canada and the United States has taught us that, for me, almost every transaction, every case is a made-to-measure suit that you have to basically develop for the needs of the client. So in terms of moving forward, what we typically do is to start with a questionnaire to find out what the client needs, who the client is, and what their goals are as a family. That brings us to the end of the presentation. If you'd like to put the contact details on the screen, that's slide number 9. That's me, it's Ignacio Donoso, that's my email and phone number. Our person in Delhi is the wonderful and amazing Arusha Gupta, and she is available for questions as well, and tremendously helpful with all of our work we do in India. So that's the end of the presentation. I'd like to open up the floor to questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ignacio. Well, very quickly, we'll open up the platform for Q&As. We already have one person asking. Ranjit, Lavanya, can you do the needful, please?
Ranjit, please ask your question. You can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. One is with the owner-operated LMIA, can we buy any business, any franchisee business? And can you also throw some light on the rural immigration pilot programs that have come up recently?
Thank you. The owner-operator LMIA, typically you can buy almost any business. That means that you have a lot of flexibility in terms of what you're investing into, or you can start your own business. The only requirement is that you buy at least 51% of the equity capital of the company, and that it be an active business. It can't be simply a holding company. It has to be something that is operating and open to the public. And there is a job creation requirement in the sense that we are looking for at least one new job for a Canadian citizen or permanent resident. That's not like a bright line test, but we do certainly recommend it. Much like the E2 program, there is no clear job creation requirement, but definitely if you have created 1 or 2 jobs, you're going to get a more favorable assessment from the adjudicating officer. Same thing in Canada with this program.
Sorry, can you also throw some light on the rural immigration programs they have recently launched?
They're very recent. Frankly, I don't really want to talk to them about them right now because they're so specific. I'm happy to talk to you about them later if you'd like.
Okay, sure. Okay, one last question. Regarding the owner-operated LMIA, what will be the path towards residency in terms of time frame?
Well, once you get the owner-operator LMIA, we usually recommend to plan on 6 months to arrive in Canada with the owner-operator LMIA approved. And then after that, we would process the applicant for the Canadian Federal Skilled Worker Program, and then the express entry qualification. All in all, you're looking at, from start to finish, approximately 2 years towards permanent residency in Canada. After 6 months, you're actually living in Canada with yourself and your family.
Okay, we have a next question from Muju Ahmed. Hi, Muju, please ask your question.
Hi, I have a question in regards with LMIA and some other questions as well. Do you also help in getting the LMIA job offers with the work permit for the applicants other than owner-operator?
No, we don't. We would recommend that you submit your resume to some of the provincial job banks or register with the federal job bank, but we don't do that for you, sorry.
Okay, and what about the intra-company transfer? Like if a person is having a business in India and he wants to open up the same business in Canada, okay, and then send the people from India to Canada over there.
It's a very successful program. Many people have used it to start a new business because the threshold requirements at the initial part of the transfer process are relatively straightforward. You need to open a business, start a company, capitalize the company, draft a business plan, and then looking at showing obviously that you have an operating business abroad. You're looking to show the affiliation. You're looking to show that you have a managerial role abroad, and you're looking to show that you have 1 year of tenure in that position on a full-time basis. All that coming together would allow you then to transfer yourself or a member of your company who is the manager to work in Canada. It's a very attractive program, and frankly, we tend to advise clients who are frequently, they've heard about the LMIA owner-operator program and they want to dive headfirst into it. And we slow them down a little bit to consider how the two programs can play off each other.
Okay. Whether do we have any eligible or non-eligible kind of business in this? What if a person is having a jewelry business in India and he want to open up a business in the name of the same company in Canada? And so will that be possible? Because I heard that jewelry businesses, normally they don't consider.
A jewelry business, I mean, the jewelry business is a
manufacturing of a jewelry items.
Again, it's a business like any other. It involves a production line, it involves workers, it involves an office and a lease of physical premises. It is not prohibited by Canadian rules. Now, you know, what frequently happens in immigration is there's a lot of, I heard somebody say, this is the fascinating part of human behavior. If I listen to what everybody said, I heard somebody say, the miracles would happen. People would walk on water, visas would be granted simply by smiling at visa officers, and the world would just be all this, you know, wonderful place. It doesn't necessarily work that way. The good news is that it's not hard. Canadian immigration at this point, as I said in the early part of the presentation, is more accessible than it's ever been. The rules are really quite clear, even though there's a great diversity of visa programs for Canada. The rules, once you dive into the program, are really quite straightforward. The government is not actively trying to stick it to you and trip you up. And if you're well advised, you should be able to navigate the program pretty successfully. The time frame for most of the permanent residency programs are in the range of 1 to 2 to 3 years. There are no extraordinary waiting lists for Canada like there are in the United States, because the visas either get issued or they don't, and then the whole thing starts over again the next year, right? So what I mean by that is when you think about US immigration, we are all at the mercy of something called the visa waiting list, which is issued by the US Department of State. And it can be brutal. It can go forward, it can go backward, it can stay still for months without moving. I think, for example, in the EB-5 sphere, I'll say openly, I think that the visa waiting list for India is completely exaggerated. This is my opinion. So take it only as Ignacio giving his 2 cents. It's completely exaggerated. I think it's in the 3 to 5 year range in the worst case scenario. For Canada, there is no waiting list. It's only processing time. Once you qualify, that's it, you get it. It's a different model and a very attractive model at that.
Okay. And in regards with the investor visa, like how many people can get into, like if 4 members want to get into the investor visa, want to become a partner, and how the funds would be divided among them?
Investor visas in the PNP program tend to be, let's say I'm using as an example, British Columbia has a program for investors in regional outlying areas, okay? And minimum investment is 100,000, the net worth requirement is 300,000, all Canadian dollars, and there's a 51% ownership requirement. So the ability to get 2 people in that is impossible, okay? But on the other hand, the British Columbia principal program is a little different. It's a minimum $200,000 investment, minimum net worth of 600,000 Canadian dollars, and a 33% ownership requirement. So you could bring in a partner into that particular visa. You see the difference?
Okay.
Ontario, for example, has a really attractive provincial nominee program for investors, for entrepreneurs. The most attractive one is for technology companies. If you invest in starting up a technology company, your minimum investment in Toronto, which is Canada's industrial and business heart. It is the beating heart of the Canadian economy. Minimum investment, $200,000, net worth, $400,000, and you can own 33% of the business, which means that you could bring in a partner. Of course, all of your partners, both in Ontario and British Columbia, would have to qualify individually for the investment requirements I just mentioned, which means that you cannot split $200,000 between two people and invest $100,000 each and qualify. It wouldn't work that way. You see my point?
Okay, fine. Thank you. And regarding, yeah, please go on.
I think, Muju, you can, so Ignacio will reach out to you and answer your other questions. You've written in the chat.
Yeah.
You can also write the same questions on the Q&A section so that Ignacio will be able to answer them.
Fine, no problem.
We have one more question from Ranjit. Ranjit, please go ahead, ask your question.
Sure. I just want to know what's the timeline for the intercompany transfer for the residency?
The intercompany transfer typically takes about 90 days to arrive in Canada with a temporary work permit, okay? And then to get permanent residency, you would be looking at approximately 12 to 18 months on the outside, okay? So less than 2 years.
And any specific turnover the company, the government will look for?
They don't have a specific turnover requirement. They're looking at whether the business is open to the public, operating as a business, and whether there are enough employees to warrant the presence of a senior manager or executive in the company. Okay? As long as you satisfy that, you should be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Ignacio. I think that was a very insightful presentation. Any more questions that are there? Like I mentioned, all the panelists will reach out to you. Thank you, Mr. Ignacio, once again.
Thank you.
With this, we conclude the IREX Business Connect. Please note that all the panelists will get in touch with each of you via email and will share the presentations with all the attendees. In case you have any questions, please feel free